everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes podcast. My name is Audrey, and this is a nitty yarny podcast from the southwest of France. Episode 56, maybe it's about time that I should tell you I have no clue how to properly pronounce my name in English. Because we pronounce it very differently in French. In French we say Audrey. So that is my name, this is what I respond to. But yeah, I sometimes hear it said Audrey, sometimes Audrey. So I don't know. How do you say it? I kind of like Audrey. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce my own name. That's just brilliant. I'm getting more used to being called that way though, because my boyfriend does not speak French, so he calls me Audrey. Calls me Audrey. Sorry. That was so mean. No, my boyfriend has a very good English most of the times. But yeah, I don't know. Oh my god, it's the second time I record that introduction, and the first time I just went on a complete rant about bug bites, because if you remember last time I had a bug that had bitten my ankle and it was quite bad and it became worse. I just had a really bad reaction and I had like 10-ish bites that had swollen, each of them like this, on my legs. And so my calves were distorted and I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital, but it's fine, I didn't have any fever or anything, but it's dangerous. Yeah, I certainly am not going to go live in Australia if I can't even handle French bugs. But yeah, and I did it again. You see, rambly. It's going to be a rambly episode. I'm sorry. I have quite a few things to show you. I have a pattern release to announce. I have a finished object and some progress on my whips. And I also have another yarn show at the end of the episode, and I want to chat about something that I think is quite interesting regarding pattern writing and addressing beginners and how to present certain touchy subjects like gauge and such things when you're a designer. I'll talk about this at the end of the episode, and you can find timestamps for all the different sections in the description down below. So if you want to skip anything, feel free to do so. And I will also put links to everything that I talk about, as well as my social media and patterns for sale on Ravelry. So that's it. I think we can start with knitting. First off, I just want to say that I have published a new pattern on Ravelry, and you would have seen those quite a few times already. The bold Soprano socks are now available. So it's a pair of colorwork and cabled socks inspired by Romanian embroidery motif. And I didn't do that on purpose, but matchy matchy. This is a blouse that my boyfriend's sister offered me, and I really like it. Romanian blouse, Romanian socks, everything. Yes, so bold Soprano socks, you can find the link to them down below. Yeah, they're easy. They're an easy pair of socks. If you have never done colorwork, that's a good thing. One of my testers was a beginner colorwork knitter, and her colorwork is perfect. It's impeccable. I don't know if she watches the English episodes, but yeah, I already told her her colorwork is on point. And they all, my testers all had really interesting color choices that are not so Christmassy, maybe. Obviously, I chose the traditional Romanian colors, and as it happens, it kind of looks Christmassy. So maybe, yeah, I don't know if you really want to buy a pattern like this now, but if you do look at my testers version, they all did versions that are a bit more springy. One of them in particular used like a teal green blue and a speckled color for the colorwork, and it looks really nice as well. And yes, so the pattern is available. It is with, oh my god. You can use the code Soprano to get 20% off until Sunday. So yeah, if you want to get onto that, go ahead. Everything will be written and linked in the description down below. So yeah, I know a lot of you said you liked them, so they are now available. If you want to get them with the introduction discounts, feel free to do so. That is done and out of the way. I have another finished object, and you would have seen it in the little segment introduction. I finished my Varma Pullover, which is a pattern by Sari Nordlund, which I was test knitting. And I have finished it, and I am really happy with it. It fits okay. Like I said, I messed up, I believe, the shoulder section thingy, so, but it's not uncomfortable. There's a bit of extra fabric on that side, but I do believe it's my fault. And that with time, the fabric will just loosen and get prettier. It does look really, really effective and stunning, and I really like it. I can't wait for it to be autumn so I can wear it. I used Holst Supersoft in the Almond, Vintage Heather and Tundra colorways. And I just really like the combination of the three. Yeah. So it's a little bit, it's not short, it hits my hips, which is fine. I don't like long sweaters, I don't like long sleeves, I don't like long anything except dresses and skirts. It's the only thing that I don't like it short. Yes, it was quite fun to do. Yeah, it's only in little pieces, so it's a lot of flat stockinette which can be quite tedious, to be honest. It's not like when you're doing stockinette in the round, you know, you just go round, but here, like, you have a small portion, so you have to turn a lot of times, and the purl rows, obviously. But on the other hand, it made the project really portable, because until you sew everything together to do the sleeves, well, you only have really small pieces, the biggest piece being the back, and then you have all these three little ones, so it's quite portable, which is nice for a sweater for a change, rather than having this big thing seamless on your lap. And yes, I was afraid I would run out of the almond color. I did one sleeve, and then I did the other one, and I couldn't finish. I couldn't get to the right measurements, so yeah, I just ripped the other one so that they match and they're the same length, and they're actually long enough. I think they would have been a bit too long if I had done like I had done the first one, the first time around. And yes, I believe I had seamed it last week already, so you know that that went all right. And yeah, the sleeves are fine. It's a really pretty sweater. I like it. It looks unusual, so to say, and at the same time quite easy to wear, and I really like it. It fits well. I like Holst, and yeah, I'm always impressed at how Holst Supersoft handles loose gauges. So it's a woolen span, so it really blooms when you wash it, but this is like 21 stitches per 10 centimeters, so it is very loose for such a light fingering weight. And if I show you like this, you can see my hand through it, and it looks all a bit gappy, but really when you wear it, it's not transparent, and it just makes a really light and airy fabric. Not the kind of fabric I would like when I use Holst Supersoft for color work, but for such a sweater, I think it works just fine, and it showed the texture panel really well. Depending on the light, I cannot catch it just right, and it looks like it's really dark, but it isn't really. And yeah, you can see that Holst Supersoft has a good definition for textures, and I don't know about cables if they're not twisted, but twisted stitch textures definitely work really well with Holst Supersoft. And yes, this is done. I will show it to you again when Sari releases the pattern, which I don't know when. I think it would be maybe September, but I will definitely wear it on the podcast and show it to you once again when it's published, because I think it's a really, really cool pattern. And there's another version, a unicolor version with a reverse stockinette facing, and you can do a short sleeves, and I definitely think I want to do that version as well, maybe in a cotton blend or a cotton linen blend. I want to try Alino by BC Garn, which is a cotton and linen blend. I really want to try it, and I don't have quite a project set in mind to try that, so maybe that will be it. I don't know. But yes, it is finished in time for the testnet. I did take a couple pictures, and I will send my notes to Sari. And yeah, I really enjoyed working on it. It's different from the type of sweaters I usually do, and I certainly enjoyed the construction of it. And even though I do believe I messed up something with the shoulders, I learned it's always interesting to do seamed sweaters or sweaters with a different type of construction, like the Susu sweater, for example, which is this kind of weird poncho by Noah Gone, because it really looks like a puzzle, and it breaks down the knitting in a way that's more related to garment making, maybe more like sewing, which is not something I often get when I just settle for in the round raglan sweaters. So I definitely want to explore more of these types of constructions for sweaters. I don't know why I'm going so fast. I'm going so fast. I have some works in progress to show you. First off is, I don't know if you remember my rainbow socks, but I have finished one. And so this is some yarn I hand dyed a while ago, and I just wanted to cast on a pair of simple socks just to have a mindless knit on the go for when I edit. I really like how that pulled here. I wish the whole sock was like this. It looks kind of impressionist-like. But yeah, the rest of the sock is more of a micro striping effect. The skein originally was half grey and half rainbow, and that is what it did. So just a simple vanilla sock. I knit my sock with 60 stitches, and I have a stitch gauge of about, a stitch gauge, yes, it's stitch gauge of about 32, more like 34 stitches per 10 centimeters, so that's 8. Sometimes it's more like 9. Yeah, I'm closer to 9 stitches, so more like 36 stitches per 10 centimeters, because yeah, that's tight. It's not too tight. Anyway, this is on 2mm needle, so I don't have under it, so I can't be doing my socks any tighter, but that's good. That's a good density for sock, I think. I really don't like when it's too loose, and that's just fine. I did the eye of partridge heel, I think, because whenever I do an eye of partridge heel, it never looks like what I think it's supposed to look like. And the problem is this is very variegated, and I think I've only tried it with variegated or really woolly yarns that didn't have a great definition. So yeah, I don't know about that eye of partridge. Ugh. So yeah, I don't know about that eye of partridge heel flap. I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, but I don't understand how could I be doing it wrong. Maybe because it's 30 stitches and it's a 4. It needs to be offset by 4, so that's not divisible by 4. Maybe that's that. I feel like there's something really silly here and I just haven't thought about it, and that's why I think that's the reason. Anyway, I did something weird at the toe, and I'm stretching it just a little that you can see. I wanted to mirror the cuff where I did a 2x2 rib and then a purl row. I wanted to mirror that on the toe, so I did a purl row just before the toe decreases, and then I did the 2x2 rib on the toe as well. I don't know. I just wanted to match the cuff. And yeah, I cast on the second one just so that they can knit away while I edit the podcast, for example. And yeah, I just have a bit of the cuff done. And yeah, I do think I will try to have a simple stockinette sock on the go, because before I cast that one on, I was a bit uncomfortable because I only had projects that I couldn't knit without looking at them, even though they weren't necessarily complicated, but I still needed to pay attention. And so I do think I'm going to keep those stockinette socks until I have more time to cast on maybe a simple sweater that will replace these socks as mindless knits. My next work in progress is my Evenstar shawl, and this hasn't advanced quite as much as I hoped it would. This is where I am. I'm on chart 2, and you can instantly see my problem. If you remember, what I really loved about the Green Gables shawl was that the motifs were really distinct and I could immediately see what I was doing. Here, not so much on that chart. And it's really silly because it's so much stockinette. So every other row are knit, and inside the pattern rows there's this huge bit of stockinette. So technically I should be going faster, but I am not. I have done very little work on it just because, well, I had other things to plan for designs and stuff, but I also wasn't as enthusiastic on this one because I just don't know what's that's doing. And I'm just like, okay, here there are points, but what's this? And yeah, I really need to see what it's going to look like to enjoy it, I think. But it looks very nice. The first chart looks very nice. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the second one. I really need to just do it to see. I've looked at the pattern a bit more, and so you have 3 or 4 charts, I don't remember, but then you have a border that is knitted sideways all around the circle, kind of like the Saturate shawl if you have done it. So the Saturate shawl is a half circle, and then you knit a border. So you have your shawl like this, and then you knit a border like this. And this is kind of the same principle, except you're doing a complete round. And so, yeah, that's quite interesting. So it's going to make the shawl bigger without having to work on 1,000 stitches at the end, because you will go back and forth in the border. So it will be lesser stitches. And yeah, I just need to focus on it a little bit, I think, if I want to have it done in time. So I'm using, again, Drops Lace in the King's Blue. Just blue. It's like an indigo blue color, and yeah, I just need to work on it a little bit. Not today, because today I'm filming the podcast, so tomorrow, I hope. Yeah, we are zooming through the whips. Maybe I'm going to have an episode that's a decent size for once. Who believes that? I'm just going to ramble forever at the end. My next work in progress is, my next and last work in progress is a new design that I'm working on, and it's the Avelana Shawl. So this is what I have so far. I believe that plane. Are you just hovering over my house plane? There it is. Anyway, I believe last time I showed you I was about here. So now you can see that I have added sort of the main feature of the shawl, which are these cables. This is so unflattering. Oh my god. Yeah, it's a triangle shape shawl, so it's a little bit awkward to show while it's on the needles. Oh, this is so unflattering. It doesn't look good. I'm sorry. Anyway, you can see how it is. So you had already seen all of this, and the center cable, I have some sort of a rib texture here, the cables, and then I have put in a row of eyelets. Yeah, can't see anything. I like how the speckled hen is looking with the cables. It's interesting. It kind of looks like ruptured waves on the TV or something. It's yeah. I keep playing with my idea textures and colors, and I think it looks nice. Looks interesting. Tell me what you think. I keep thinking that it will also look very beautiful in just one color, like I said last time. So yeah, do you like it? I don't know. It's very fun to knit. That's the thing. It is very fun to knit. I like how the textures and the colors play together, and I think when it's going to be finished and blocked, it's actually going to be quite wearable because it's quite earthy autumnal colors. So yeah, this is it. This is so stretchy. You know, it's always something when you have borders in shawl, and this is quite stretchy, so that's nice. I still don't know how big it's going to be. I think I'm almost done. I want to repeat that here and then have a ribbed border. And maybe a little bit more of the grey. But yeah, this is how it's going. Let me go through the yarn once again. This is Speckled Hen by A Knit Away. This is just a charcoal from Cascade Heritage yarn. And this is Dirty Chai by Wool & Boon. Yeah, it's quite fun to knit on. So I hope this will be ready maybe in September. I will see. Depends on how fast I can write the patterns and fight with the charts so that it can go to test knitting before maybe August. If you ever like to test knit for me, just follow me on Instagram because this is where I send the calls for test knits. So yeah, you will see then when I ask for testers for this shawl and for other designs. And so that's it for knitting. I think I have showed you everything that I have done, and I have another little yarn show segment for you. It's gonna be a quickie, but I really want to share it with you, so here we go. So you remember that last time I shared this, which is Cosmic String Yak Lace in the penny colorway, and I talked about how interesting yak was. And so you probably heard over and over about the Tits Out Collective, the initiative started by Contessa Blaze. And yeah, basically I knew which one I wanted from the start, because I immediately fell in love with this. So this is Javierland version of the Tits Out collective. The If I Get no, I was going to do that one again. If I want exposure, I will get my tits out colorway. And she is US based dyer, and she makes self-striping yarns, and so this is her interpretation of the tits thingy colorway. And when I saw this on Instagram, yes, I really wanted it. It took me a while to decide, because having this come from the US is a bit, it's not really cost effective, but I really, really liked it. And one of the reasons I liked it so much, so Javierland, if you look at her shop on Etsy, she had, maybe she still has them, I don't know, I will check, but I will put the link to her shop in the description. She had several versions of this colorway. One of them obviously was on classic merino sock base, and it was really bright and almost neon-like. And then she showed this, which you would have guessed is on a yak base. She called this the demure version. I don't know what's that word and how it's supposed to pronounce it, but that's how it is. And it's just made the colors look, well, earthy, deep, brownish, warm, grayish thingy, the way yak does. And I loved it. This. You see, on the other colorway, this is a bit more yellow, like bright yellow, and I just like how here it's this sort of greenish thing. It's just so beautiful. And yeah, so it's her Yakety Yak sock, which is 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon. That is not how percentages work, Audrey. But yes, it is so beautiful. I can hardly resist self-striping. And yeah, I just really also, I've looked through all the colorways for the Tits Out collective, and a lot of them were really nice, but I kind of calmed myself with the variegated and speckled skein. I still love them, and I actually sorted out my stash, which I will talk about in a little bit, and realized I don't have that much single sock skeins. I don't. By that much, I mean I probably have about 15. Okay, so maybe that's a lot, but I thought I had much more. So it's okay. And I don't feel like buying anymore unless it's for a specific project. And this is not the case with self-striping. I am still very much subject to impulse buy with self-striping. Not really impulse buy, but like I really want self-striping yarns. Like when I see some of the colorways from Nomadic Yarns, I really want that. But yeah, my favorite self-striping dyers are in the US, and it is expensive to get things here. I don't get customs. French customs are quite oblivious. We don't get charged a lot. So it happens. It happened to me with a few things. Never yarn, though. Never from the States. I guess when it's a small package, I don't have time to bother. It seems like in the UK it's more systematic. In France it isn't. So it is just the shipping cost that's already quite pricey. And it's like half the price that the things I have to pay when I want to ship things overseas. So yeah. But it's still like, yeah, 35 euros for one bowl to get it here. So, I saw this, I was like, I really want it, I really like it, I really want to buy one of the Tits Out collective things, and so I just kept it in my head for a couple of weeks, and eventually I just decided to treat myself and to support this initiative. Haviland is donating to House of Ruth, I think, an association in Maryland that helps women victims of domestic violence. And yeah, so I thought that was really nice. And I have a pretty self-striping skein that will become one of these mindless stockinette sock projects. Maybe the next one. Or maybe not, because I have so much other ones. We'll see. So that's it for the creative content this week. I feel like I've gone so fast. So yeah, I have done quite a few, but I also spent a lot of time messing around with swatches for future designs and collaborations, and also sorting my stash, because we don't have clothes moth here, but I don't know, I just became a bit paranoid. And I decided I wanted to store my stash into bags, just to protect it, and as well because I wanted to isolate the yarn that was supposed to be together for a specific project, and so that's what I did. I didn't have nearly enough bags, so I bought some more plastic bags, and I'm going to keep doing that, especially for the Holst yarn mountain. You've seen I posted on Instagram stories. You can't even see all of my Holst Supersoft stash. It just makes a mountain. It has its own shelf. It's ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, so I just sorted everything into bags and all the design yarns together, and so that took me a little while, but that was nice to do, and I'm going to finish it as soon as I receive my new plastic bags. Yeah, I want to finish this episode by talking a little bit about again how I approach designing, and especially how I write my designs and descriptions on Ravelry. It all revolves around how to tackle and include different knitters, whereas it's different levels or different styles and needs, without really limiting oneself. I personally, when I write a pattern, I really like to point out the areas where you can take responsibility in your knitting and modify it to make it your own. I've already touched based on that in a couple of episodes ago. I like to give options and detail them and how-tos, but I refuse to give rules, really. I don't want my patterns to be straight, closed instructions. And this goes from giving measurements rather than rows instructions to, for example, telling you not to use the same yarn weight and needle size as I did if you don't want to. But I've just been wondering, is it confusing for people? You know, will I get rejected? No, you know what I mean. Because people much prefer a closed path when they're knitting. I had some interesting talks about this on Instagram with different knitters and designers, so I thought I wanted to address it here as well, because I think it's an interesting thing to think about. I want my patterns to be accessible, and I will do everything to help a beginner, and I will provide pattern support as much as I can, and that is a lot, I think. And yeah, I really want everyone to be able to knit my designs. But this is already assuming certain things from you. You bought a pattern, a given pattern on Ravelry. So for me, it means you want to tackle it because you paid for it, and because you're in a place and in a context where if you're just knitting very casually, you're going to know what you look for, and maybe you wouldn't have ended up on that particular pattern. So the way I see it is, I like to think that the people who are in the position and make the decision to buy my patterns, I like to assume that they're in a position where they want to think about it if necessary, think about their knitting project. And you know, if I have designs that are full on mindless and only execution mode, I do say so. And most of my stocks patterns are like this, and as well the shawls. They're a little bit more directive, so to say. But I think it's especially noticeable for garment designing. And you will see, if you choose to look at my upcoming pattern, the Tolosa sweater, I will say up front on the pattern Ravelry page and at the beginning of the pattern, and I will keep insisting on it, that you can use whatever yarn weight you want. I think gauge in particular is a point where this issue, it's not really an issue, but the way designers address their audience is important, because gauge is a concept that's a bit misunderstood, and there's a lot of knitters that are skilled knitters and advanced knitters that will possibly want to buy my patterns or anyone's patterns that don't really understand what gauge is and how they can work with it and what impacts it has and what it means. So yeah, gauge is quite a point where it's a very good example for this situation. You see, I'm going to publish a pattern and it's going to be under the category fingering weight, and I will say I used this yarn, it's a fingering weight. And I will try to make it very obvious and put it in bold. You don't have to use fingering weight. Look at the gauge. And I'm almost thinking, if it was reasonable to not include yarn weight and not include needle size in the information of a design, I would do it, because I'm afraid it's limiting and it's going to cause issues, because someone who is not as comfortable with the gauge matter is going to look at this and be like, oh, but you say you use fingering weight, and now why should I not use the same as you? What does this mean? And I'm afraid these people might be confused and just don't want to make the project at all because of it. And yeah, so I feel like I have to put in a lot of information just to make people understand that what they need to look at is the gauge. So yeah, I feel like I need to put a lot of information and have a very lengthy pattern notes just to tell people, look at the gauge, and if you know you don't like that gauge in a fingering weight, use a sport weight or a DK weight. And I'm lucky because I have testers that are doing this, so we will have examples, and that's very nice. And yeah, I'm just wondering, how do you feel about this? Do you prefer when the pattern is more imperative? It's just telling you, use this, do that. Do you feel more comfortable? Are you more inclined to buy it? Will you be put off by a pattern that says, I did this, this is how it works, this is all the different things you can do? Because this is what I like and this is what I want to do. I want to give people options. I want to tell you, especially for garments, I feel I want to give you all the measurements and tell you, okay, this portion of the body, it measures this much. Make however you want or need for it to hit your body at that certain point, or do whatever you want. Check the raglan depth measurements. Yeah, basically, the way I see it is, I had a design idea, I did all the math, I have written out instructions that are hopefully clear, and I have mapped out all the possibilities. And you choose your path, so to say. And I'm here to help you do that if you're not comfortable enough. But what I'm wondering is, will people be disappointed. It's not possible, because if you want to follow the pattern by the letter, you can, because I give the instructions of how I do it. I'm just afraid that I might be confronted with people that are confused because they have misconceptions. That's the thing. I want to help beginners. I don't want to deal with people that don't want to think when I say up front that my patterns are made that way. Do you see what I mean? And I think knitters that just enjoy the process without overthinking it and just want relaxing project, I think this is just as valid. And I do have patterns that I think fit in that category because I also enjoy that. But yeah, I'm just curious as to what you think when you look at a design page on Ravelry. And yeah, I'm just considering how to approach things, how to phrase the pattern description so that people understand what kind of pattern this is, and so that people see the possibilities but are not frightened by it should they be beginners. Yeah, these are just sort of random thoughts that I'm putting out there, and yeah, I hope you understand, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this. I had really interesting feedback from other knitters and designers, like I said, and yeah, I just think it's interesting to see how different people, what different people want from knitting, what they think, and it's obviously not possible to cater to everyone. Cater to everyone. You understand what I mean? Did you say catering? So you should say cater. But it's not like English pronunciation makes sense, is it? If you ever learn French and you think pronunciation is stupid, it has rules. Just learn the rules and you'll be good. English makes no sense. Is it cater or cater? Cater. I'm going to go with cater. Katie. Katie. Is it the same kind of problem? Yeah. I don't know where I'm going with that, but you see what I mean. And yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. And yeah, I believe that is it for this week. Don't forget to check out the Bold Soprano socks if you want to, and if you want to use the discount code, it is valid until Sunday. And yes, I wish you a happy day, night and week, and I will not see you next week. I don't think so. I think it will be offset a little bit by a few days. You'll see. Anyway, but yeah, have a lovely time and I will see you next time. Bye!